my fellow Americans and all friends from all countries that might view my video. I wish I could get captions put on my videos because sometimes with my missing teeth, I can be difficult to understand. I get that. You know, I put up a short just a little while ago about rainbows make me sad. And I would like to dig in on that a little bit to give you a little more understanding of what I mean. Because I know I watched the video. I always watch my own videos to make sure I haven't gone too overboard, because I have learned throughout my life how to use my tongue as a weapon with the things I say. So I watched it, and I really didn't find anything other than one word I used that I wished I had used a different word, because it's not quite the feeling I meant to explain. It makes me sad when I see the rainbow flag for Pride. I'm going to be honest. Because I see what the Q plus community has taken away from LGBT. And I was a part of their movement. When I was younger, I considered myself bi. And it wasn't to oppose my parents. But the Q plus community is dividing the parent from the child. And I see that too much. And it's not just that the parents don't want to accept that their child even went so far as to reject them by the name they were given. Now, my name is Angelique, my full first name. And I was named after a book character. And my mother used to actually read the book series. It was Angelique the Adventurer, and she was a time traveler. And sometimes she was a vampire, and sometimes she could be a demon or a witch or just a person. Sorry about that. Anyway, I always liked my name. It was long to me. It was a hassle because it was long. You know, when you got to write your name down in school in the old days, you had to write down your name. You didn't have a document center that everything titled up with your name and whatever date it is. And we didn't have that. We wrote it out. And a lot of people misspell my name. I say it's Angelique with a Q, not a C. Or a K. I've had people come at that one. So I go by Angel. Or, as most of my watchers know, I go by Granny. But when I said disgusting, which was, I think, the wrong phrase to use, and then I argued with myself over that. Because what I think is disgusting is anyone who preys on children, the vulnerable. You prey on the children or the elderly, and I see you as one of the weakest people in the link of the chain of humanity. Now are you understanding why I said it was disgusting? That was the word that came out first. For an adult to choose to change their visual part of their bodies, which has been done for my whole life as far as I know, probably since they came out with silicone breasts, so that women could enhance the breasts because they felt, I'm too small, and men don't like them small. You're wrong. You're wrong. Some men will actually choose a woman who is more petite in her build and doesn't look like she's going to fall over because her body is out of balance. Now, I am a breasty woman. I don't know if you can say that anymore, but I was a breasty woman. And I was considered voluptuous, is what they called it. I was thick-boned, as you can see. I don't have dainty little wrists. These come from working to be where they are now. But if they had been thinner, like my mother had very dainty bone structure. I don't. And as an adult woman, I've actually been asked if I was a transsexual. Because, see, short neck is more masculine than the woman's slender, long neck. Now, I'm sorry, I come from a bloodline that is predominantly from the highlands, the mountains, and the colder regions. Even though I can't stand the cold, it drives me nuts, hurts my body, but I used to love it. So ladies, if you're like me, and you've got this kind of a build, don't overdo it with the working out, unless you're doing muscle exercises that are elongating your muscles. Because a body type like mine, that is what we used to call big boned, well, it can be kind of masculine. But I even asked my mother after I was asked, was I a transsexual? And she said, well, Ange, you don't have the higher pitch oct of your voice. You don't have, the petite little figure. I mean, I was only 5'3" when I asked her this, and I never got any taller. So I was, I think 16, 17 years old. And she said, but Ange, there's one thing about you that will always let a real man know you're a woman. And I said, what? And she said, your spirit. The thing that moves you. The thing that makes your body language. Now you can tell when it's forced, and you can tell when it's natural. And that's what the transgender community has not learned yet. That being a woman is more than what you see on TV. Far more. It is a mannerism you're actually born with. Now I've heard men especially say, children cannot be born gay. Yes, they can. And I wholeheartedly believe that, because I gave birth to a baby I knew was going to love the same sex. And it was, as a baby, he moved feminine. Not exaggerated feminine, but a kind of feminine every woman can spot. And so I don't even mind the exaggeration with the transgenders, but I don't think they should be allowed to call themselves a transgender and change their name and change everything on their birth certificates and all that until they've actually gone all the way through the process. I mean, surgery done, you've gone through the healing, and you've lived for at least a year as a woman. Because when you're transitioned all the way, not a transsexual who is either just someone who likes to dress like the opposite sex, or they're considering going through the changes to make themselves transgender. And if you abruptly make that choice, if you make it suddenly, if you make it because of the pressure on you to because of your peer groups. If a school counselor that you've been counseled by has ever told you, don't tell your parents. I told my children when they were little that there were two kinds of danger in this world. The stranger danger and the don't tell mom or dad danger. Now, I raised my children with those two safety features children are not instilled with at that age when they're the most vulnerable. So stranger danger and don't tell mom and dad. The moment you hear someone tell you, don't tell mom and dad, no, you are right away, no, you are making a bad choice. Because your parents are the only protectors you have in this world. And if you don't like them when you're an adult, that's fine. Many kids, about preteens, teenage years, begin to hate their parents because they're searching for their own identities. I mean, I went through it. I watched my sisters go through it. I watched my brother go through it. So it's just a natural part of growing up. You're developing your identity. And I don't care what science says about what age you rarely get a hold of your identity. Because your identity is going to constantly be changing. That's why my parents told me, Angel, don't get a tattoo. Please don't get a tattoo. Because your ideas of what your body is and isn't is going to change over the years. And she was right. All the way, 100%. Now, I fought with my mother. I went through periods where I didn't talk to my mother. She was not quite as involved with me as she was with my sister. And there were health issues. So it was not something that my mother wanted to do. She did not want to give up time with me and have to devote herself to my sister. But I saw my sister being sick. And yes, we had arguments and normal kid spats. But I chased home a bunch of boys one day that were throwing rocks at my little sister. Well, at me, actually. But they hit my little sister. And my sister had this platinum blonde, almost white, long, beautiful hair when she was 7, 8 years old. And we're walking home, and bullies, they never could. It was like they were afraid of me, but I had a target on my back. They knew I was a threat. So they always did come after me. But in this case, it was actually a little different. And they didn't come after me to bully me. They were trying to get my attention. They weren't yelling things. They were just saying, come here, come here, come here. And I'm walking my little sister home. And we've got over 2 miles, roughly, to walk to the house. Neither one of us cared for riding on the bus because the bullies, Gen X, silent generation, was the biggest bullies ever rode a school bus or entered a public forum where there were other younger children. They always went after the vulnerable. That's why they were silent. They were silenced. Okay, because they were big mouths in my day. And still are from what I see on YouTube and Facebook. But I got the pleasure and choice. I don't have to watch it. I don't have to hear it. I even have a mute button if I want to see them do something stupid. I'm down with watching you be stupid. I'm stupid all the time. But I'm not going to mock you for your video. Especially if I don't like you. If I don't like you, I'm not going to mock you. I'm not going to acknowledge you. I'm not going to like your videos. I'm not going to comment on your videos. I'm not going to share them. That is actually the appropriate way to deal with people you don't like. Now, as for LGBT, I have subscribed to several of your channels, and I do watch them a lot, because you guys are the ones who are filling this old lady in on younger Gen X and millennials' fights for your rights to be protected this time. It's not about getting your rights, you got them. It's about protecting them, and I get that, and I'm proud of you. Keep up that fight. I wish I was strong enough and young again so I could get in on it, because believe me, this old lady loved a good rally. But I kept my rallies separate from my personal life. And that's a big thing. My personal life was for those people closest to me and not what the world was doing. So, but that was me. That was me. My sister, my mother knew everything that happened in her world. School, events, bullies, all of that. Me? No. I was my grandmother put it to me, Angelique, you're unapproachable sometimes. And so did my sister Diana. And I'm like, what am I doing that makes me unapproachable? And she said, my grandmother told me, honey, it's the way you stand. Yes, I've always told you, hold your head up, shoulders straight. Don't mess up your back. But on you, it can almost come across as military. Okay, Grandma. That's a new one on me. But I did figure that out when I began working out, lifting weights and stuff like that throughout my life. When I saw how muscular my body would become, if I was going to be in a weightlifting class or, bodybuilding for competitions, continuing that path would have been great. I probably would have won me some medals. But going and drawing out this very masculine body out of a very feminine body, because I did have a very feminine body. And of course, when I was younger, before babies and all that, I was a very firm woman to touch or to approach. I even looked that way. So I understood what my grandmother was saying. And so I also had this unique insight into what it could mean to feel like, am I in the right body? Okay, this video is 18, almost 19 minutes, folks. I gotta close, but I'll start the next one on, am I in the right body? I want you to understand, I'm a boomer. We understand your confusion and your questions, and we're here to try and help you find those right answers.